Thank you for the introduction. My name is Detective Matthew Charles. I am a part of the organized crime unit heroin opioid response team, or HORT for short. We are right now a 3-member team. We used to be 4, but we had somebody that left. We investigate the overdoses across the city of Memphis, fatal and non-fatal. That may go from prosecution to trying to give somebody some kind of help. It goes like a spider web as far as what we do. So today I'm just going to talk about overdoses in Memphis and narcotics that we see as far as officers and as a department as a whole. Today we're going to talk about what is HORT team, what is an overdose, which I'm pretty sure that everybody in this room probably knows some kind of fashion what overdose is, so I'll skip over that. Signs of overdose, handling OD cases, autopsy and toxicology reports, why they're important to us as far as investigators, narcotics seen in the city of Memphis, and statistics of overdoses in Memphis. That's me, as it's gone over. So, HORT team, heroin opioid response team. We are a part of the organized crime unit. Primarily, we're responsible for the investigation of both fatal and non-fatal overdoses. When a person unfortunately dies of an overdose, they'll call us out, and we treat it like a homicide scene. Everything in that scene, from cell phone, the person's body, drug paraphernalia, drugs, anything like that on the scene, we try to investigate it from there. The things that we focus on are providers of illegal narcotics. Most time, as we know, it's a drug dealer. But at times, it may not necessarily be a drug dealer. Sometimes it may be a fellow user. It may be somebody that unknowingly provided pills that were unsecured inside their house. So it varies from what we look at. We also look at repeat overdoses. We try our best to reach out to people that have non-fatal overdoses and speak to them, whether that's calling them and finding out. Obviously, the main thing that we look for is, where did you get your narcotics from? If not, sometimes they may want to speak about it, sometimes they don't. We also try our best to provide services or point them into the right direction for help if they're at that time wanting help. We're also responsible for this department for its Narcan program. All Narcan that is issued out to officers, we're responsible for it. We issue it out to them when they make a scene. They may administer Narcan. There's a form that they do. So we track all of that, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. We also have pill take-back receptacles that we're responsible for. On the 26th, as they've stated before, is a DEA National Pill Take-Back, but throughout the year, there's nine stations that have a green receptacle that's at the front of the building. If you have narcotics or any kind of drug that you do not want, you can put it inside of that receptacle, no questions asked. Throughout the year, we clean out those barrels, recover those pills, narcotics, and have them disposed of, incinerated at an undisclosed location. We also, like I said, we deal with narcotics cases. Not only do we deal with fatals and non-fatals, we also deal with for us, run-of-the-mill drug cases. And we're also responsible for clandestine lab investigations. At one point in time, there was such a thing as a meth lab. Being from Arkansas, that's something that we knew about, calling rolling meth labs, where they would have a shake and bake inside their car. They wouldn't know what they're doing, wouldn't burp it, and the car would the receptacle they were using to do that shake and bake would explode, and that car would be contaminated. We don't deal with meth labs as much anymore, but we have come across sometimes fentanyl labs, and that's pretty much just them making pills, pressed pills. So like I said, what is an overdose? I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I think we all know kind of what is an overdose, but this is what we kind of give the officers to kind of give them I guess a messy kind of description of when an overdose occurs. So we describe to them that you have a blood-brain barrier. So you have somebody that may have taken an opiate or fentanyl, and it gets inside in their bloodstream, runs to the blood-brain barrier, and when they're breathing, we breathe without thinking about it. There's a receptor, and then there's a substance that causes you for you to breathe. When you take an opiate, it knocks it out the way, and for us to have them breathe again, just like a shadow kick, we give them Narcan. Narcan takes that opiate out of the way and allows the person to breathe again. This is kind of how we describe it to them so they can understand why it's important that when you make the scene, that person is not breathing, they're not looking at you, they're not talking, you've given them painful stimuli, they haven't responded to it, get them Narcan. Do something on the scene. And then also call 911 and get them to the hospital. So like I said, our MPD Narcan program, again, like I said, we're responsible for giving out Narcan and replenishing when officers when they use it. Right now, since 2018, about 900 individuals have been revived using Narcan. Sometimes some of those in that 900 may be some repeats, but either way, they have been revived and gotten to the hospital and gotten help. So this is what officers have in the streets. They have a naloxone box, and it has 2 doses of Narcan. Sometimes our officers are very generous with Narcan. They'll use theirs, they'll get their partners, use theirs, they'll find another partner and use theirs. We try to explain to them that once you give them some, that's it. It just has to do its thing. But again, hey, we want our officers to do something. Don't just stand there, don't just look at the person, but do something. And this is the form that we have them fill out each time they fill out or they administer Narcan. It just kind of asks them questions about the person, their demographics, what did you see on the scene, how much Narcan did you give, and what did you do after that? Believe it or not, we've had situations where we have given Narcan to individuals. They have come back and they have been upset at us. They have filed complaints because we ruined their high. The department has seen that if we do this, this just shows you, hey, we did something, this is the reason why we did something. So signs of an overdose, again, this is something that we tell the officers, try and explain to them what they should be looking out for. Blue lips or skin cyanosis, breathing complications, their diaphragm going up. If they see that you might need to get them help. Loud snoring. For us as investigators, we make the scenes of people that have unfortunately died, and we're asking the witnesses, what did you see, what happened? A lot of times we're going to hear them saying, I saw them last night, they were fine, we woke up this morning, and they were snoring extremely loud. And that for us is a telltale sign that around that time when that snoring occurred, that's when unfortunately they more likely were about to die or did die. Foam cone for us, it's a discharge of the lungs. When the person passes away, the fluid wants to come out of the lungs. So we'll see that. Loss of consciousness. Syringes, plastic bags with powders in general, ligatures, burned aluminum foil. We're seeing that some people when they're using fentanyl, they're using it the same way that they use crack cocaine, which is the burning method, and I guess it gets into the lungs and gets to the blood faster. You'll see cut plastic straws, and now we're seeing on scenes a lot of fentanyl testing strips, where they're testing their narcotics on the scene. So this is just from one of our scenes. As you can see, the discharge, the foam cone is there on the front or on the top. You've got your cut straw, you've got your aluminum foil, and you got your powder. So this is a lot of times what we'll see when we make these scenes of overdoses. Not all the time, but majority of the time, that's a telltale sign. That's what caused their death. Handling of overdose cases. So the realm that we operate in is our main goal when we're going after persons that have caused someone to die of an overdose is we go after second-degree murder. First-degree murder is premeditated. Second-degree is you didn't really mean it, but it still occurred. So for us, we're under number 3, which is killing of another or unlawful distribution or unlawful delivery or unlawful dispensation of fentanyl or carfentanil when those substances alone or in combination with any substance scheduled as controlled substance by the Tennessee Drug Control Act. That's where we work at. The way that the laws see it is, unfortunately, when someone dies from an overdose, 50% of your death is due to your action. No one told you to take that narcotic. No one said it. But again, the other half, that 50% is where we work at, because somebody gave you that narcotic, knew that it could cause death, and still continue to distribute. So that's where we work at. At times, we are able to get a case all the way to that finish line where we can charge somebody with second-degree murder, or our favorite thing is to go federal with it. The feds love to go after somebody that has caused death and dealing with fentanyl. But a lot of times we don't make that. But again, there's so much information that we get from trying to get to second-degree murder. We can also go for PCS. There's a lot of things that we do, possession of controlled substance, that we can deal with. So when it's outside of fatals, we go out for non-fatals. We put this slide in here to kind of explain that we are not in the business of prosecuting people that have drug addictions or have non-fatal overdose. But again, as law enforcement agency, you don't have a lot of tools outside of only going after prosecution. One of the tools we have is in Drug Court Division 8. So let's say, for instance, we have an individual that's on the scene. They may have had an overdose. They may have gone to the hospital. They're okay. And they have 0.5 or a gram of fentanyl on the scene. We'll try to talk to them. We'll go look at their history, their drug history, or their interaction with the police department history. If we see a trend line where you're constantly dealing with us, you're having overdoses, for me as a CIT officer, that means that you're in crisis in some kind of form or fashion. So what we do is we try to get you referred to drug court. When speaking with a lot of the individuals that we deal with that have had overdoses, they don't like drug court, because drug court is kind of tough, it's difficult. But again, that's the only, besides our partners that we try to refer to, that's the only thing we can to get you into some kind of court-ordered help to try and help you and stop doing what you're doing. There have been times where we've seen individuals in a week span, they've had 3 overdoses. We've had juveniles that have had overdose, 15, 16 years old. And you don't want to put them in or refer them to court, but again, what other option do you have to get them some help? So we'll go down to juvenile court. They will look at us in our face and say, why do you have this in front of us? Hey, we're trying to do something. Can you please help us get this person into court so that we can get the conversation going to talk to them? Autopsy and toxicology reports, this is the most important thing for our cases. When we have fatals, from the time that we make the scene, we're working. We're getting inside their cell phone. We're hoping that we can find out who, what, when, where, whoever they were talking to prior to their death. We are trying to get the evidence that's on the scene. We're talking to witnesses. We're getting surveillance footage. We're doing everything we can. Like I said, we treat it like a homicide investigation. But there's a time, but this autopsy and toxicology report, if it is not in a fashion that can, for the case to be prosecuted, unfortunately, we have to stop with that case. So with autopsy and toxicology reports, the thing we're looking for is a cause of death. On this individual, it was a fentanyl, cocaine, alcohol toxicity. So for us, we know that a large amount of cocaine could cause death. But with fentanyl on the autopsy, we know that person died of fentanyl. We also look at the toxicology report. And as you can see on here, it's probably small for the people in the back, but we have fentanyl and 4-AMPP. 4-AMPP is the byproduct or the precursor to making fentanyl. So when you make fentanyl, you'll have AMPP. When the body breaks it down into 4-AMPP. So when we're looking at a toxicology screen, along with prosecutors, we can kind of tell how much fentanyl they had in their system, what was the body doing at the time they had fentanyl in their system, or they took fentanyl, and how fast did their death occur. Also, you can see on here on this toxicology screen, there's cocaine, there's cannabinoids, coming from THC, you have ethanol, and some other things that's on there. There are other times that we may get somebody that may have died from an overdose and they have a mixed drug screen, or mixed tox, which is they have fentanyl, they have cocaine, they have marijuana, they have benzos, they have all kinds of things that's on there. Our job is to try and see if we can track where all of those drugs may have come from. Most of the time, when we're dealing with someone that has died, those drugs may have come from that one person. But again, on us, it's trying to find out, can we find that person and find where that drugs they were selling, where they get it from. So narcotics in Memphis. We pretty much see just about everything here in Memphis. Same thing you would see in Dallas, same thing you would see in Chicago, same thing you would see in Nashville. Well, Nashville and then to the eastern side of the state, they have a difference where it comes to the heroin and kind of thing. But it's just about everything we see here. We see marijuana, we see cocaine, we see crack cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamine, MDMA, and prescription pills. Sometimes those are real pills, and other times they're pressed pills that look like real. When officers and us, we come across marijuana, it's going to be like this. It's going to be bagged up, or it's going to be in these packages that look like gummy worms, that look like they're marketed towards adults, but they look like they're marketed towards children. For us, we're also seeing an increase in juveniles that are having overdoses from THC. It's not an overdose, it's just that your body can't handle the THC, and they'll do a report. And they'll refer to us as an overdose. We go back and say, hey, that's not an overdose, it's just the child did too much THC and shouldn't be doing it in the first place. We see cocaine. This is pretty much how it's gonna look, like flour consistency, in baggies, in dollar bills, in cigarella wrappers, in lotto scratch-off paper. We see it in everything. That's just another picture of cocaine, how it's seen to us when we make these things. Crack cocaine, I call it the poor man's drug because it seems to be very resilient, does not go anywhere. It's been here since the 80s and it's still here, still being used. And fentanyl, fentanyl is fentanyl. I mean, it's everywhere. This picture, this is how when we take substances to 201 to be tagged, we do a testing of said drug, and it's just kind of how we'll know that it's fentanyl or it's heroin. Also, what we're seeing when people are selling fentanyl is we're seeing it with Suboxone strips. I still, for me personally, don't understand why we're seeing Suboxone with fentanyl. More like it's probably because they don't want the person to go out while they're using their fentanyl, but they will sell it. We also see individuals selling Narcan. I mean, these are how the dealers are doing these days. Methamphetamine, it's here. Again, coming from Arkansas, they used to make meth all the time. Now the cartels have taken over making meth. From what we hear, the quality is horrible, but it still does what it needs to do and make a stimulant. But again, it's here, and we are coming across it. Like I said, when officers come across individuals that have narcotics, they're going to put it in anything that they can find. Also, when they're patting people down, we tell them use PPE, use gloves, use a mask if you need to, because there have been times where we've had officers who have had exposures to fentanyl. They haven't lost conscience, thank God, but again, this is the danger that officers are dealing with every day. Foil packets, powders, plastic baggies. If officers see this, we tell them, hey, that is more likely fentanyl or some kind of drug. Please take caution. So like I said, changes in Memphis narcotics. At one point in time, heroin was the big dog here in Memphis. Fentanyl came on the scene and said, heroin, you can go somewhere. Heroin would cost a lot more money than fentanyl does. But fentanyl is more addictive. And now that fentanyl is now the big dog, fentanyl is more expensive. When we're seeing people that are having overdoses and they're saying they're taking heroin, and they're having overdoses, and they say they took a powder, we can tell you that if it's heroin, because more likely they're not gonna unfortunately die from heroin right now, because it doesn't have the potency that fentanyl has. But when fentanyl's there, or the person that's died, more likely we knew it's fentanyl, just because we don't see heroin as much anymore. Like I said, crack cocaine is a poor man drug. It's just cheap. That's why we just call it poor man. So if you want something, you can go buy crack, and it's not gonna cost you a lot of money. We are now seeing tranq or xylazine in autopsy and toxicology reports. If you're not familiar with xylazine, what it does, if it's mixed with fentanyl and somebody takes of it, xylazine gets in the way of Narcan doing its job getting fentanyl out the way. It almost acts like a blocker. So while that person is having an overdose and you're trying to give them Narcan, Narcan can't get in there to do its job, and they'll eventually start continuing to lose or not be able to breathe, and they eventually will die. Juveniles and THC, like I said, we're just seeing an increase in juveniles in schools having THC. Like I said, you're selling something that's in a colorful package. A kid sees that and it's like, oh, this is candy. They take it to school, pass it out with friends, and the friends are sick. They're having nausea. They're having headaches. Prescription pills, we're still seeing them. Now they switched over from having real pills to pressed pills. M30s, we're seeing a lot. Xanax, Xanax, Prazolone, the same thing. But we're seeing that. A lot of these individuals don't know that they're having a pressed pill until they take it and they find themselves waking up in the hospital, or we find it and contest it. So these are statistics that we have for NPD as far as for the last couple of years. 2019, as you can see, we had 128 fatals and 639 non-fatals. 2020 was a COVID year, they jumped up. And as you can see now, they've kind of started to taper off. They're still occurring, but it's not as bad as it was in 2020. This overdose breakdowns by race in Memphis. We are a predominantly African-American city, so this kind of falls in line with what you'll be seeing. This is in 2024. So like I said, in 2019, 2020, fentanyl hit the scene, and everybody wanted to have fentanyl. And we as a department, we're trying to catch up and find out what's going on. But again, you're always playing catch up as a department, trying to find out what's going on. In 2020, the COVID pandemic hit, and the loss of the buddy system. So for a lot of individuals that are having overdose and non-fatals, what we've learned from them, when they use, they'll have somebody with them. Due to COVID, because everybody was separated, you didn't have somebody with you when you went out to give you Narcan. So unfortunately, we had an increase in deaths and had an increase in non-fatals. In 2021 till now, Narcan is a lot more, it's available. Walgreens offers it. Shelby County has the box that's at Ridgeway to give Narcan. I mean, the stigmas are kind of going down, and that just helps us out. Narcan is just, like I said, it's been helping out. This is the reported overdose map in 2024 for the city of Memphis. As you can see, just about every single area, there's been a reported overdose. Another change that we have seen, at one point in time, it was you could go to a drug house, get a narcotic, buy it, take it home, do whatever. Now that has changed to where if you have a gas station, it's very easy for somebody to go to the gas station. Hey, meet me here at the gas station. I want this, I want some fentanyl, I want some pills, whatever. All right, I'll meet you at the gas station. Do the transaction, go back home, or go wherever you're going. Sycamore View, which I think is, I can't do it on here, but where that, right there where that's going diagonally, that's Sycamore View area. It's a very hot area for us. We go in there, we try to get these dealers out, we get them, we arrest them, and then another person shows up and starts it over again. Again, we are the only, as far as I know, it's the only unit that is investigating these overdoses. So I can only imagine what's going on in Germantown, what is going on in Bartlett, what is going on in Millington. But from this picture, you can see it's everywhere. And I thank you for your time.